Senator King. Senator Cotton, please.
Thank you both for your appearance today and your service to our nation. General Wolters, I'm sure you deeply regret this will be your last appearance in front of this committee as the combatant commander in Europe. A couple weeks ago, Russia shot missiles that landed about 10 miles from Poland's border. You are the combatant commander for American forces in Europe. You are the Supreme Allied Commander for NATO forces. What direction or authorization have you received from the President or from the NATO Council about the immediate action you should take if a missile were to hit Polish territory?
Continue to fortify the security disposition from a military perspective in air, land, sea, space, and cyber on the eastern portion of Europe.
Are you authorized to immediately strike back at that aircraft that launched the missile or a missile battery that fired it?
No, I am not.
By the time you received that authorization, that aircraft and that missile battery probably would have moved and no longer be susceptible to immediate strike. Is that correct?
That's correct. And again, this all applies to activity that occurs in Ukraine with respect to Russia, not on NATO territory.
I'm disappointed to hear that you don't have that authorization, General. The President said while he was in Europe that we are training Ukrainian forces in Poland. Is that accurate?
At this time, is that the time setting of the statement?
That's what the President said. Jake Sullivan said we are not. I'm just trying to figure out if we are or are not.
I do not believe that we are in the process of currently training military forces from Ukraine and Poland. There are liaisons that are there that are being given advice, and that's different than I think you're referring to with respect to training.
A few weeks ago, President Zelensky asked for the transfer of MiG-29 aircraft from Poland. The Secretary of State said that we gave a green light to that. 2 days later, the Pentagon said it was untenable because they were afraid that it would be escalatory. Were you asked for your best military advice about this decision? And if so, what was it?
I was, and I provided that best military advice to the Secretary of Defense. And if Secretary Austin would like to share that with you, I know that he will.
Can you help me understand how it would be escalatory to provide these aircraft to Poland if they came from us, but not if they came from Poland?
I think that nations have to make the decision independently about whether or not they want to give aircraft to the Ukraine. And that is certainly the case with respect to Poland's choice. With respect to what we do, part of the decision from a United States perspective was metered through the return on investment for the capability of those platforms versus potential escalation. And when that balance was looked at, the decision was made not to advocate giving MiGs to Poland.
I understand that some people think that these MiGs would not be that useful for Ukraine, and I don't believe there'll be a silver bullet, but President Zelensky and the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense has asked for them, and I think this should be a case where we respect their judgments, even if they just use them for spare parts for their aircraft. I think they've earned that right. And I don't think if you're a Russian pilot, you'd view old MiGs as any more escalatory than modern Stingers if you're the one being shot out of the sky. I suspect you wouldn't either, General. Are we still making distinctions between offensive and defensive weapons that we provide to Ukraine?
Senator, I would expect that we're examining each and every one of the weapons and making sure that on a case-by-case basis, we're taking into account the escalatory potential that they present.
I just think that Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine is defending its soil. By definition, every weapon it has is defensive. 2 weeks ago, the President announced the delivery of a package of arms to include Switchblade drones. 1 week ago, the Pentagon acknowledged that they had not yet been delivered. Have those drones been delivered yet to Ukraine?
They have not yet landed in Ukraine. They're in the process.
Do we know why that's taking so long?
I do not at this time, Senator.
One final question I have here. This is about your placemat on the disposition of U.S. forces. We have 40,000 troops in Germany. That's 4 times the next largest troop presence almost, and 40% of our total enhanced presence in Europe now. Is there a strategic reason to have so many troops in Germany, or is that just a historic artifact that it used to be the front lines of the East-West conflict?
It has to do with mostly the United States Army and the availability of training ranges. So when those force elements come over, they can practice shoot, move, and communicating. And when called to go forward, you'll have a ready force. And that's because of the long tradition that you've experienced in your Army career of Hohenfels and Grafenwehr.
Can you tell me how many of those 40,000 troops that we have in Germany have the primary job of shooting a weapon, driving a vehicle, or flying an aircraft that can kill a bad guy?
Well over 70%.
So over 70% of those 40,000 troops have a military occupational specialty or AFSCU that is about killing bad guys, not supporting frontline troops.
That's correct. They're the teeth of the military formation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cotton. Senator Rosen, please.